This episode is brought to you by Kevin Bacon, a.k.a. Evil Jim Carrey.
This episode is also brought to you by constantly pulling the shirt out of your fat rolls before you take a picture. This is Sorry for the Wait. Here we go.
Fired up, ready to go. Welcome to the show, folks. This is Sorry for the Wait, a weight loss podcast for regular people, by regular people. I'm your host, Seth.
And I'm your host, Strawberry.
And here we go. We are in a weird zone today.
Yeah.
It's funny because we this is episode 6. I mean, this is our first one after the launch batch, and it feels like it's been like a long time since we recorded.
Well, yeah, just to give people at home a little peek behind the curtain. We obviously recorded those fairly spaced together.
Yeah.
And so this is the first one where, we've kind of gone over a little bit over a week between recordings.
Because we wanted to make sure that we spaced them out so that we were still weighing in, because then it was like still on schedule in that sense. But it's been a while. We've been itching to record too. So and we got new mics on the 1s and 2s, so we had to wait a couple days until those came in.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Hey, I have something for you.
Oh boy.
Just really quick.
I'm so mad that I didn't think of something to give you really quick.
Well, no, this was an idea I had laying in bed where I usually have most of my good ideas. Are you familiar with OnlyFans? and trust me.
Define familiar, because I know what it is, but
okay.
I'm not too familiar.
This is going to lead somewhere, I promise you. But you know what the platform is.
Yes. So for the folks at home who might not know, OnlyFans is like this app/website.
Right.
And I think it's like subscription based, right? So you can like subscribe to a person, and it's basically for porn.
Yeah. That's okay. So it's essentially like sex worker portal. You know what I mean? Because
can't wait to see where we're going with
this. Hey,
this.
like, your body, your choice, and like, you know what? Empower yourself. Like, hey, like, don't send nudes for free. Fuck that. You know what I mean? Like, charge somebody $2.
Yeah, and you know what? If there is a time to be thinking about OnlyFans, it's when you're laying in bed.
Okay, you know what? You caught me in a corner there. You know, I'm a little trapped there, but this is going somewhere. I had an idea.
Oh. Please.
I honestly think this might be my Sistine Chapel, my Mona Lisa, baby. And here's the thing. So we're getting fit. We're feeling sexier. I don't know about you, brother, but
please don't tell me you want us to do an OnlyFans.
I don't want to do an OnlyFans.
All right.
I want to do a remix on OnlyFans. We love macaroni, right? And trust me, this connects.
I mean, yes.
You like macaroni and cheese,
love
right?
Macaroni and cheese is a 10 out of 10 meal.
I'm going to hit you something. Jean Ralphio, okay? Like, I'm going to bounce this off you. Macaroni fans. Macaroni fans. We're getting fit.
So
we want to
Okay, I'll let you explain.
Let the brand work, baby. We're getting fit. We're feeling sexier. What if we just started an OnlyFans profile and just called it Macaroni Fans, where we took risque photos of us with just like bowls of macaroni in front of us? I couldn't say it with a straight face.
I mean, I feel like
I'm sorry. I'm not.
I feel like there is limitless potential there.
Hand to God, I want to say 3:10, 3:15 in the morning. I woke up and I go, oh my God, that's it. I was like, this is the idea. And so folks, please tweet at us, send us a comment on Instagram or Facebook.
Let us know.
How much would you pay per month to see risque photos of the Strawberry and I with macaroni? And
keep that in mind. There's always going to be macaroni. It's not
right. Yeah, it's Macaroni Fans.
Yeah,
it's all macaroni.
Just all mac. Oh my God, we're going to be spending so much money on macaroni and cheese. Going to the grocery store, I'm going to be self-conscious checking out.
So good. I'm glad you're on board. I just needed to make sure that I got that off my chest.
This is either going to be a very big ego boost or a very big.
Or the worst idea we've ever had. Yeah, because now it's a we idea. It's not just me.
Well, I just can't wait to see what people say they'd be willing to pay, because I feel like if somebody was saying that they'd be willing to pay like $5 a month to like see pictures of that, I would feel good about that.
I'd feel great about that. Or if somebody
was like, I wouldn't even watch this for free. I mean, first of all, I wouldn't blame you.
Right.
But
also, if someone like sent me a message being like, I'll pay you $10 to not do that.
Oh, yes.
I would feel like garbage.
You know what, though? I would take that.
Yeah, I would too. I'd take that Venmo.
Money for
I would take that
less
cash
work.
out. All right, good. I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Yeah, we'll put that in the idea jar.
Yeah, that's in the idea jar. So how was your week?
So my week was pretty good. So I've finally passed that 50-pound mark.
Woo! 50-pound berry.
Woo!
That's awesome.
Yeah, so, and I've really tried to stay away from putting too much weight, pun intended, on the number, but hitting 50 it's the first time I've actually felt like, wow, that's a big number.
Yeah, that's a milestone. Like, I think that I think there's a difference between not putting too much stock into the number and celebrating milestones, because that is a milestone. And like, that's awesome. And like you said this a couple episodes back, that this is the most weight you've lost ever.
Right.
Like consistently too. I mean, even the camp years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think the most I'd ever lost at camp was like 44 pounds. And that was when I was like a camper first year, didn't know how to like cheat if I wanted to.
Right.
Like
before we became counselors.
Yeah. Once I kind of figured out what was up, it was like no chance.
That's awesome though. I mean, to hit a 50-pound mark is like, it's perspective. You know what I mean? It's perspective and looking back and just being like, whoa, like from where you started. And so that's awesome. That's a great week.
So how's your week?
My week, it was good. We're holding steady, baby. I mean, like it is shake life, you know? I mean, these shakes, it does
it get any easier?
So it does. It does. And I know that this program like wouldn't be for everybody. Like, I have discovered a level of self-discipline that I didn't know that I had, and to be able to do it this long like is promising, but it does get daunting. You know what I mean? Like when you're just drinking liquids, like I know that my stomach is shrinking, and it's the program called OptiFast, and it's through Nestle Health Sciences and South Coast Health. But I mean, it's a lot. It definitely is, but it feels good when I know that I'm doing the right things and I'm just getting myself ready for the real chapter, which is the maintenance phase.
I will say that as somebody who lives with you and sees everything that you don't eat, you know, all the things that you drink,
right?
You know, I am also kind of surprised at the self-discipline, but I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, I appreciate it too. And I honestly think that if we didn't live together, I wouldn't have it.
Honestly, I find it like almost at the unbelievable level, because I almost like I can't even picture putting myself in that position and possibly having that. I guess it's really a mental strength,
right,
to be able to do that. And I mean, it also just kind of makes it a little weird too, because I always, you know, it kind of keeps me a little bit in check, because I know that like even if I'm eating diet food,
yeah, you're like I really don't want to eat too much of this
like,
while sitting next to him.
Yeah, like I feel bad eating a lean cuisine near you. Imagine if I were to get like a large pizza.
Right. Yeah. Foreshadowing. But yeah, no, I lost another 4 pounds this week. 4 has been a very consistent number, and I'm at 91 now. I mean, I'm within I'm within shouting distance of that hundo piece, you know, and it's good. I feel good. It's just, you know, when you have a lot of work to go, you kind of have to take it a day at a time. If you look at losing what I'm trying to lose, which is like around 150 pounds, it's daunting. I mean, like when you look at if you have to lose that much weight, that will keep you from trying. You know what I mean? Like that'll keep you from starting.
Yeah, but if it almost is like insurmountable,
right?
If you're starting from the
we know a lot of people who have this of like, I think I'm just past the point of no return. Like you're never past the point of no return. There's always something, and whether like X program doesn't work, Y, you got to keep plugging away at it. And so
how many weeks has your program been so far?
So I think right now I'm in the middle of week 18.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So you're averaging about 5 pounds a week.
Yeah,
on that,
which is good math. Hey. There you go. That's the math thing. Yeah.
I pulled out a calculator to do it on the calculator, and when you said 18, I was like, oh, I can do 90 divided by 18 real quick.
Yeah, and most people can't that quick.
Yes, I'm a math teacher.
But yeah, no, it's 18 weeks, man, and it's nuts. It's going to be wild when I go back into work and see my coworkers for the first time. Like,
they haven't seen you in like 60
Yeah,
pounds.
Exactly. They're going to be like, who the hell are you? Get out. But it's good, and I'm happy with it. But hey, you know what?
Just because it's a good week doesn't mean we didn't have cravings.
I was craving some weird shit, man. Just as per usual.
So why don't you tell me about your cravings?
So my craving of the week. Okay, are you familiar with Cadbury cream eggs?
I love Cadbury chocolate.
Okay, so Cadbury, the Brits got it right, dog. Like the Brits.
The best chocolate.
Nailed it. So I don't know why that this popped into my head too, but it did and it hasn't left. But I want like Tony Soprano's bowling ball, but a Cadbury cream egg. Like you can get like this thing you can give to me. And like, I think my strategy would be like hollow out the top and then just like break off pieces of the top and dip in said cream. Ooh. You know what I mean? Like sort of like a Cadbury and dip, you know, and just fuck myself up with that. But then I would just go straight spoon. I would spoon out that Cadbury cream. Yeah. And then I most likely just like put the egg on my head and act like I'm a chocolate Magneto and just kind of go from there. And then I can just
chocolate Magneto is like the best supervillain I can think of.
Yeah. That
like just being able to just move all of the chocolate with your mind.
Like create Magneto's helmet of Cadbury cream chocolate eggshell. And I don't know why, like it's weird because I do love chocolate. Like I'm obviously more of a chocolate and peanut butter person, as you know, and as most people know, but Cadbury cream egg, man, that thing, like in certain times, that's one of the greatest things on the planet.
Oh yeah.
It tastes so freaking good. And so that for me that's been taking over my brain space. I was typing in like, what's the biggest Cadbury cream egg available on the internet? And then I immediately deleted that history just for myself. And so, yeah.
What is the biggest Cadbury cream egg?
Oh, I honestly didn't get past many of the photos. I just looked at like photoshopped big ones. I'll probably need to like go find like what's the biggest one ever made and then custom order that and then throw it in the river because I shouldn't be eating that. But well, what about you? What were you craving this week?
So I'm actually going to remix this a little bit because I had a very hard time coming up with a craving. And the reason I had a hard time coming up with this craving was because when I hit that 50-pound milestone, I decided to celebrate. Yeah. I was a little bit in my head. I was like, I just passed 50 pounds. If I eat something big and now I'm at like 49 pounds, now I'm going to feel like shit.
Right.
But then I kind of got out of my own head about it and I was like, no, I mean, it's still basically 50 pounds. You
treat yourself.
So I treated myself.
You did. Oh, you did.
And so instead of craving of the week, I'm going to tell you about everything I ate.
Oh, yeah, that's a remix. All right.
It was really just this one order from this pizza place that's like 15 minutes away. You had told me about it.
I did tell you.
And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have even known they existed.
I do feel partially responsible.
You can take ownership for that,
I should have known that you were going to go with this, too, and now I do feel fully responsible.
So I guess the main event was the Big Buff Chick Mac Pizza.
Big Buff Chick Mac.
Now, I will say that I got a small Big Buff Chick Mac pizza.
You did. You did get that. I can vouch for that.
So it kind of blew my mind. This must be the first time I've had a small pizza, like
ever?
I think ever. Yeah. And I really wasn't expecting it to be that small. Like the portion was actually really good.
Yeah.
But it was buffalo chicken, mac and cheese, and mashed potatoes.
Ooh, that's it. See, it's funny because I saw you bring this home and it smelled heavenly. But when I read the description, I was like, man, mashed potatoes.
I thought the same thing. I was like, mashed potatoes sounds like a weird choice.
I held off from asking you about it until we recorded.
But I had to know because you don't just put that in there for shits and giggles.
Yeah, no, you do it for a reason.
Yeah. And let me tell you, it was like honestly, it might have been the best pizza I've ever eaten.
That's insane. So shout out to Delicious Pizza in Berkeley, Massachusetts.
Yeah. Go in with the code sorry for the wait and get 10% off.
But here's the
thing. That's not true. I shouldn't have said
that. We are so sorry, Delicious.
Yeah, don't sue us.
That's not the only thing you got, though. That wasn't the thing that I was salivating over.
Yeah. So the dessert of this cheat actually connects to a craving of the week I did a couple weeks ago where I was really craving s'mores. And they had a s'mores calzone.
This thing was diesel. Too.
Yeah.
That thing was dense.
Yeah, it wasn't even like big. It's just like, I mean, it's exactly what you would expect. It's chocolate, it's marshmallow, and
cinnamon dusted on top.
Yeah.
Was it not?
And cinnamon dusted on top. And now here's where I might lose that potential for a Delicious sponsor. I liked it, but the chocolate to marshmallow ratio was not up to my standards.
Less than spectacular?
Yeah, it was like a lot of chocolate, like actual chocolate like pieces, almost like a Hershey bar. But I guess they must have used some sort of like marshmallow fluff or something like that was like very light.
Okay. So and hey, I think that's one of those things that's made differently every time.
I'm sure.
That's a good.
But I just know that if I were to make it, I would have the same amount of chocolate and then just stuff the rest of it with just not marshmallow fluff, not any of that, like full marshmallows.
But it was worth it.
Oh, it was absolutely worth it, and I have not weighed myself since, but that's what tomorrow's for.
You know what though? Like you have to, because if you don't treat yourself like that, especially when you hit a milestone, then I mean, what are you doing?
And I've also kind of decided that no matter what the scale says when I weigh in tomorrow, I'm going to be okay with it.
It also sets you up for what you have to do the rest of the week. Like, okay, like I just need to adjust this then throughout the week, and that's good. But oh man, it did smell really good. The apartment smelled really good. It was very hard for me.
It was so hard to resist eating it on the way home because of how it made my car smell. Although I will say I did have one slice of the pizza on the way home as road food.
Yeah, you got to road food that. We'll never abandon that.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's just road shake, but it's road food. So, you know what? New segment alert. New segment alert. So, we thought of this one like last week, and we were like, let's fucking give it a shot. So this segment is called Sensual Eating. So sensual eating is
really just us making moaning noises while we eat.
Essentially, it's fat ASMR. No, no, it's Barry and I are each going. We went in blind again, and let's hope that we keep our streak going. And we each pick a food that is kind of notoriously viewed as, and we're going to go through a bunch of them too, like even ones that aren't seen as sexy that we might think is sexy, but we're each going to pick a food and we're going to just kind of talk about like, is it sexy?
Yeah.
And we also want to hear from you guys on this one.
Do you think that these foods are sexy?
Yeah.
And what foods are you interested in hearing us talk about?
This is the first time we're opening up submissions too. So if you email sftwsubmissions@gmail.com, you can submit us questions. You can submit us your sensual eating things, and we'll read the best ones. So get at it. That's sftwsubmissions@gmail.com. So do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
Yeah, why don't you go first?
Okay, so I went with one that's like kind of notoriously seen as, like, they always call it like an aphrodisiac, and I went with oysters.
Fuck.
Are you doing a bit there?
No, I.
Oh, you actually picked oysters.
Yes.
Oh, god damn it. Well, you know what, folks?
You know what? We'll have a long talk about oysters.
Streaks don't last forever, but you know what? I think this does speak volumes to, is this food actually sexy?
Well, because I really want to talk about this, because I do have a lot of opinions, but since you were starting, why don't you open up with your opener?
So just as a hard stop of like what my answer is, no.
Okay.
No. No, absolutely fucking not. Like oysters are not sexy, dude. Like the sound, even like slurping an oyster, get the entire fucking way out of here with that. Like that is absurd to me.
Now, and this is me saying it as somebody who like doesn't really eat oysters. Like I'm not really a big seafood person,
right?
Which might be blasphemy being in New England.
Yeah, but you are what you are. Yeah.
Like, what does it mean that it's an aphrodisiac?
I have no idea. We would probably have to consult some scientist that's probably way smarter than us, but it probably just triggers the horny, dude. Like,
like what is that? Because I feel like if I'm not in the mood to have sex, eating an oyster isn't going to make me like sprout a boner.
Exactly. That was my big point. It's just like,
but I also don't think any food would do that. You know what I mean?
Maybe
like I feel like it's all about the mood when it comes to that. Is there really any food that's like, oh, this one will make you horny? I mean, unless you're
I don't know, dude. I don't know if it's
Viagra.
Like fucking limitless. Like it's not just like take this pill and instant horn. Like no, but I don't know. Just the look of an oyster isn't even sexy.
Now, counterpoint. I think, especially probably if you're a girl, wouldn't it make sense to use oysters as a judging point to see how good the man you're on a date with is?
Oh, I know where you're going with this. Oh, boo.
All right, just cut me off while I'm in the middle of finishing my sentence.
This is a family podcast. I know where you're going with it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so like
you want to judge his skills based on
his technique.
You know what? I mean, we'll leave that.
Like, does he lick the alphabet to get the oyster?
Oh,
or
God.
Is it like a swirling motion?
The show is canceled. Okay. No, okay, like lobster is sexier to me. I don't like that to me is sexier than an oyster, dude. You're just looking at this thing. I don't know, just the slurping motion, like the.
Well, I don't think a slurp could ever really be that sexy.
Well, exactly. But like most people, like, I don't know, you eat the oyster by like tilting it up. This is great radio. I'm doing this with my hands. But like it's.
Just picture it, folks.
Dude, like, I don't know, man. Like, folks, let us know if you think that oysters are actually sexy or not. But like, never would I see somebody eating an oyster and be like, I'm ready to go.
I'm with you for the most part. I really am.
I can't believe we both picked the same one.
Yeah, I think this kind of shows that we need to start planning these out a little bit more ahead of time because I think we got through that segment in like 3 minutes.
Well, it's funny. Like we outline at least the segments, but then we kind of try and go in blind to keep this authentic. But
maybe we'll need a backup or two.
Yeah. Essentially, like we just kind of fucked that up.
All right. So then on the improv. Give me a sexy food.
Okay. Hold on 1 sec. 5, 4, cherries.
Okay.
That was the first thing I thought of.
Because of the tongue and the stem.
So, yeah, because like I think like the cherry stem might be sexier than the cherry. Because like, did you ever see that thing? Well, I mean, when we were kids, like everyone would be like, I can tie a cherry stem with my tongue.
Yeah, and then I never really did a full survey to see who was the better kisser, whether it was the people who could or the people who couldn't. I'd be very interested in some scientific studies on whether being able to tie a cherry stem with your tongue makes you a better kisser.
Exactly, because like also if we're making out, like if we were making out with somebody, like I don't want them to try and like
tie your tongue
Genghis Khan my tongue, dude. like I don't know, don't twist me up like that. That's just kind of
okay. What if you're like making out with somebody and like all of a sudden she just pushes from her mouth into yours just a tied cherry stem that was already in there. What's your reaction?
That's actually super fucking gangster. That's actually super dope, but I would probably freak out and be like, what just entered my mouth? And actually, it's funny that you say that too, because I thought that I could do this. And this was when we were working up in Pennsylvania before camp started.
Okay.
When we were up there and we were out one night and there was a girl there and this was like, this might have been like the first week and a half we were there. And maybe even the first couple days we were there. Mm-hmm. And I remember talking to her and like, I had a cherry in one of my drinks because I drink stuff that's delicious. And I remember being like, I think I got this.
Was it a cherry limeade from Sonic?
No, we were at a bar.
That was my guess for you.
And I remember being like, I think I can tie this with my tongue, like to try and like impress her, like such a fuckboy kind of move. But like, you know what? Like this was back when I did drink a little bit more, and I remember going and trying to tie it to my tongue, and I swallowed it. And I did not know what to do, and I got so embarrassed and like so red, and she was like, "What's up?" And I'm like, "I gotta go." And I went straight to the bathroom, and like then I just kind of hung out in there for like a little bit, and then came back out and like rejoined like the mass group, and then she like went and talked with her friends. You know what? Next time we'll at least make sure that we don't pick the same thing. Okay, cool. So we're going to move on actually to our main topic of the day. What's our main topic today?
Well, as you can see from the title of our episode, it is DoorDash Confessional.
DoorDash Confessional.
And this one might be like a harder episode for me to get through than the one about dating because this is going to be a rough one.
We are opening some wounds today, man, because this is just nuts. It's so funny. When we decided we were going to do this for our main topic, we immediately re-downloaded DoorDash just to go through our order history.
And it is so much worse than I thought it was.
But just on food delivery apps as a whole, right? Like they are convenient. Like that's their big thing, right? Like never before could you get like McDonald's or Burger King or Taco Bell just like brought right to your doorstep. Like
honestly, this is something that I'd kind of wanted from society since I was a child. Right. And when I was in college and like DoorDash really started to become a thing, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I don't care how much the delivery fee is. I'm doing it.
That's a good thing that you say that about delivery fee is that it is convenient, but you do pay that price.
Oh my God, you pay out the ass for
Not only delivery fee, but in just menu item costs getting bumped up. Like, and I'm a big, like, it costs what it costs guy.
Yeah.
Like, if I want Taco Bell and each menu item is $4 extra, My hands are tied, Doc. Like I got to do my dance. And
then somebody asks, well, why don't you just go to the drive-thru and get it in person? And to those people, what do you say?
I actually bring up my big written point here is that I personally think that the value of food delivery apps and DoorDash and Uber Eats and Grubhub is that you don't have to talk to anybody. I don't have to say this order out loud to somebody at the drive-thru who's going to be like, oh, well, he's probably just going to, like, I don't know, bring it to a friend's house and there's a bunch of them. No, there's not. It's for me. It's all for me.
Yeah, I do like that, but I like it more because I tend to mess up my order when I speak it. And then I feel like an idiot. And then I just accept that, like, oh, I just ordered the wrong thing. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to, like, correct that because I don't want the social awkwardness of correcting my own goddamn order. So I would just be stuck with, like, something I don't want. Whereas on DoorDash, I can just say, oh, I clicked the wrong thing. Let me click a different thing.
Right, exactly. And the minimal human interaction definitely doesn't have any negative effects on our social well-being, but, like, it's...
Yeah, no, it's definitely not a red flag for other things that might have been wrong.
But where the embarrassment does come in, which we've had this happen to us a couple of times, is when you get the same dasher two nights in a row. Because before we started our programs, like, we didn't cook, dude. Like,
no, we didn't. Like, our oven, I think, might have been used once.
Maybe to make store-bought cookies. But, like, that's the thing is that we didn't cook. It was just so easy when you're tired after a work day, just, like, get somebody to deliver something. But having the same dasher 2 nights in a row, I'll never forget it, dude. I got the same guy. His name was Kevin. And he came up and he's like, huh, friendlies again, huh? And I honestly was like, you know what? Yeah, please just give me this and let me go.
Well, and I think the worst thing for the two of us is that when we would order a lot, and we'll get into that in a second. But, like, if it's just one person, right, like the delivering your meal one time, you can just be like, oh, you know, it's for a family of 4.
Right, you can
like,
make that excuse.
Oh, we're going to be eating it for, like, the next couple of days. Whereas, like, if you order, like, $60, $70 for dinner one night, and you don't have enough food left over, and you have to order $60 or $70 of food again the next night, that is when even the DoorDasher knows that you have a problem.
Yeah, I almost expected this guy to just be like, man, get it together. And I'd be like, Kevin, I know.
At what point do they have a responsibility like a bartender to just cut you off?
Do not serve this man. That's terrible. But I mean, I remember being so embarrassed sometimes if I got the same person, it would freak me out. And I would always have an excuse locked and loaded, but I could just never muster myself up to use it. But I think since we've had the same dashers before and we used to order a ton. But what's your craziest DoorDash order ever?
My craziest DoorDash order ever.
Or Uber Eats or Grubhub, but we use DoorDash mostly.
I'm always a DoorDash guy. So, I mean, I kind of like, I'm scrolling through my DoorDash thing right now, and I'm just like looking at some of these things. And a lot of them were both of us at the same time.
Like a group order, yeah.
Yeah, so it ended up being less bad than it sounds. But right now I'm looking at, here we go. We got Eastern Pizza, $76.
Ooh. Yeah, read that.
Honestly, it just says 3 items, which makes me even more scared. That means that's an average of $25 an item.
Which just screams to the insanity of the prices.
So I had gotten a chicken bacon ranch pizza, large. You had gotten a chicken parm pizza, large. And then we each got an 8 count of mozzarella sticks.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Which, like, that's one of those things, like, if we had that exact same order but had small pizzas instead and split our mozzarella sticks,
that would have been loads better of what we actually did by hurting ourselves with food.
Like, we could have had the same, like, pleasurable foods to eat, but, like, not been
Do you have like an insane individual one though?
Why don't you tell me about your insane individual
so that you can keep
scroll through and find mine.
Good preparation, Bear. Okay. So I have my insane individual one.
Oh, I have it too now.
So this is a Taco Bell order, and Taco Bell is funny because, like, you can get a lot of food for good value, right?
When you do it in person and not on the app.
I actually remember this order vividly, and you were visiting home on Long Island. Like, I was just alone in the apartment with myself and God, and it was, and I was just like, you know what? Let's just go for it. I'm gonna read this off to you verbatim.
Okay.
2 steak quesadillas.
All right.
2 loaded potato grillers. 1 Crunchwrap Supreme with chicken. 2 chalupas with chicken. 2 Doritos Cheesy Gordita Crunches with chicken, 1 Nachos Bel Grande, and 2 Baja Blasts.
2 Baja Blasts?
$68.29.
Oh.
And Barry, I want to tell you that there were leftovers. I do. I want to tell you that I saved something for the next day. Leftovers. You know what I did? I watched Inception and ate all of it. Like I ate every single thing. And you know what? Like thinking now, like if I tried to eat 1 quesarito, my stomach would kill me, dude. Like to think that I could house that much food, like
right.
And to not understand, like, yeah, this is a problem. It just $68.29, dude, at Taco Bell. Like that, like you have to try.
You do have to try.
And I did. And like, did I succeed? Yes, but ultimately no. Like it was so insane. So did you end up finding yours?
Well, so originally I found another Taco Bell one that was also, it was just very similar to yours. So I'm not just going to repeat it because, I mean, it was very
It'll
similar.
probably be a lot of the same items.
Yeah, it was. And, but instead, I scrolled down a little bit more, and I found this order from Chili's, which amounted to $73.60.
Okay.
So we had, well, this was all me because I'm looking at these items. So bacon ranch chicken quesadillas.
A must.
Southwestern egg rolls.
Mm-hmm.
Texas cheese fries.
Right on.
Crispy cheddar bites.
Yep.
And a skillet chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah, that sounds about right there.
Which, like, I don't even know why I would have even gotten a skillet chocolate chip cookie, like, looking back on it.
It doesn't come fresh.
Right. Like, the best part about that is that it's, like, the warm brownie with the ice cream.
And it's in the skillet,
and they give you the ice cream, like, as a separate thing. But, like, you've just had this ice cream that was sitting in a DoorDasher's car for a half hour.
Yeah.
So, like, you're not even really getting the ice cream.
So you're really just Tommy Pickles eating a giant cookie.
I know.
Yeah, no, that's, honestly, that's like a...
And
did you have leftovers from that one?
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, no.
Like it's funny because as much as we're like making light of this right now, and it almost feels like we're trying to outdo each other with like how fucking gluttonous we were
naturally.
But like it is crazy to me how much food I ate on DoorDash, how much money I spent on DoorDash. Like there was a point where my mom, who was still able to see kind of like my bank account because I had opened the account when she was my guardian. And she would look at it and she was like, how much money do you spend on DoorDash? You need to stop ordering DoorDash.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, we're doing it a lot less now. Even though I think when I said that, we were at the height of it. And so, Mom, I know you're out there listening. I have stopped the DoorDash now.
Yes, he has. I can vouch for that.
So please don't be mad when you hear all of these things that I've been putting in my body.
But it really did illustrate just like that we didn't give a shit. Like we had almost kind of given up at that point where we were just kind of
absolutely,
because we were both like doing and we still are doing very well in our current occupations and liking what we do, and we do it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we have enough to pay our bills. So we just kind of didn't care about the extracurricular stuff. And
at a certain point, I didn't even have enough money to pay my bills, and I was still ordering DoorDash.
Well, yeah, there was a time there. But the thing is that we were so kind of just convinced that, like, well, you know what? Like, we're adulting fine because we have a roof over our head and we're fine. So let's
if I'm not evicted yet, then I can still order DoorDash.
And I would never let you get evicted. You know what I mean? But it would have cost us, I don't know, I want to say maybe $10, $15 to feed us for an entire week if we had just gone shopping and taken the extra time to cook.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. I really think that could have been the case. Like if we had really kind of planned it out. Like,
I mean, $10, $15 I think is still kind of light. I feel like if I'm looking at like a weekly food budget for myself when it comes to like going out grocery shopping, I would give myself like $100 worth of like
yeah.
Like
absolutely.
$10, $15 is like if you're only eating like ramen every meal.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
or like rice.
If we had at least like gone out and bought like chicken breast on sale for like 99 cents a pound, like whenever they have those specials at the supermarket, like stuff like that, and then you just cook all the chicken. These are all the things that we didn't connect the dots, even though we had been told it for years that like obviously if you shop, it's going to be cheaper than getting food from a restaurant. But we just didn't care. And like it really spoke to our mental states at the time because we just weren't trying.
And I think it just kind of like almost like depression zone of like not having the energy to do anything but the bare minimum for your life.
Right.
You know, because like after a whole day of working, you know, and I work 2 jobs. So like there were some days where I was getting home, I would leave at 5 and I would like 5:30 and I would get home at 8 like PM.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
you
like,
would get home pretty late.
And when all is said and done, when I get home at 8 PM, I am not fucking standing in front of a stove or an oven.
Yeah, you just want to decompress and relax. And I think a lot of people feel that way. And obviously it's different right now considering the circumstances. But
right.
I think the biggest thing is that like because I've never really been that into cooking, but I'm trying to get into that. And so like
Great. So when you start eating again, you can cook for both of us.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the biggest hurdle you kind of have to get over is that like for me, I was always just like, there's just so much time and ingredients. And like, if you mess up one thing, then the whole meal's ruined. It's really not the case. Cooking is easy to learn, even though like I'm going to need to start like learning, but like the mistakes, just like everything, just like with our freaking show, dude, like mistakes happen whenever you try new things, no matter what.
Right.
And honestly, in today's day of the internet and the resources that are available, YouTube is your friend when it comes to cooking videos. I have a playlist just set of cooking videos from the most simple stuff to stuff that's a little more complex. But having a playlist and just watching people cook over and over again, you start to pick up a few things that at least I'm jotting down and getting ready for when I do eat again.
See, I think this is kind of like where you and I will differ a little bit. And I'm kind of like the odd one out among all of our friends from camp, I think, on this. But I literally just cannot watch food videos. Like whether it's the Food Network or whether it's just a YouTube video or a TikTok, like there's nothing interesting or pleasurable to me about watching somebody else cook a meal that I don't get to eat.
Yeah, because you miss out on it.
And so at the end of the day, I really just don't like cooking.
Yeah.
So I don't like, I've had friends say like, oh, but like you could cook it for yourself. And I'm just like, but I won't.
I mean, like, but I think when you transition from the food delivery apps, like, because like my biggest advice to people who are doing weight loss journeys is like, you got to delete it. You got to delete the app off your phone and like find a way to do like your own parental controls and have somebody else like put in a password so that you can't download these food delivery apps. And I understand that right now it's different. Like, obviously it's very different right now. And I get that. But like, I think for us, since we've stopped doing that, we have at least opened our minds to having better options that even if it's not necessarily cooking, it's getting stuff from the grocery store that's very easy to prepare that you can't even classify it as cooking. It's just like throw this in toaster oven and good. And it's a good option for you. And it's just way cheaper. You know what? I think that deleting the apps has been the best thing. And like, obviously we re-downloaded it just to be able to read off our orders. But that almost made me so much happier that we deleted them, like going through this and being like, good Christ, like what were we doing to ourselves? But
I will say that having re-downloaded it and looking at the options, there are so many more options now, and it makes me mad.
So we're going to move on to our final segment of the day. And this is, I mean, we can classify this as like a Fat Camp Follies, but it's a little bit of a different take on it because like the title of this Fat Camp Follies is First Camp Memory.
Yeah.
And this is funny because you started at camp in 2010 at the camp that we met at. I started in 2002
at an old camp.
Right, at my old camp, and shout out to the old fam, but it is, and then obviously in 2009 I moved over to the camp where we met at. And so I think it'll be a nice little, but I'm very interested because I haven't really heard your first camp memory before. And so I'm actually like very interested to hear that.
So my first camp memory isn't really that interesting, the first one. I get to my bunk, my first day, and my mom brings me down to the cabin, and there was one other camper that was there at the time, and so I picked the bed across from him.
Okay.
Kind of a big mistake. I would have rather been on the other side of the cabin because that's where all the cool kids were. But, you know, I didn't know any better. And I don't even remember what this guy's name is, but he was like, as soon as my mom left, he started telling me stories about how the previous year, which was his first summer, one of the counselors had told him that if he could catch a squirrel, they would cook it for him. And so he caught the squirrel, and they did not cook it for him. And I don't know whether that story is true or not. That was the first thing. And immediately, like, all I'm thinking of is like the the Fat Camp episode of Family Guy and the Fat Camp episode of South Park. And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be fucking terrible.
That is, I honestly, hand to God, I never knew that was your first camp memory.
and I'm pretty sure, like, I've talked about that, I think, with somebody else before, and like somebody who was there the summer before, and they were like, yeah, that didn't happen.
Yeah, because obviously
I don't believe that, but I did believe that for a couple weeks.
This is your first summer camp experience.
Yeah, I hadn't even been to a summer camp before.
And it's like, am I going to be hungry enough to want to eat a squirrel? And like, that would freak me out. That's so funny.
But the first real camp memory that really stands out to me, though, you're actually a big part of.
I think I am. I think I know where you're going with this one too.
Because so to lay the groundwork, the first day of camp, everybody spends some time, coming into their cabins and stuff. And then there reaches a point where there's so many kids there that they start to like push the kids out to do activities while other new campers are coming in.
Like down to the fields.
Yeah. And so the super senior boys were down playing basketball on the cabin courts.
Yep.
And I had come in wearing a Mets shirt with a player named Daryl Strawberry, his number on the back. And, I had introduced myself as Josh a couple of times, but there were so many new people. And then there was this one guy who seemed kind of cool. Wasn't sure what to make of him. But we were playing basketball together, and he just says, like, Strawberry, ball me. And I knew he was talking to me, so I just instinctively reacted. And I mean, 10 years later, all of our camp friends still call me Strawberry.
This is so funny because it's your origin story, and it's us too.
Yeah, you were the one,
right? And I'll never forget when I first did it. I remember afterwards talking to one of our other friends, being like, "Should I go up and apologize? Like, I don't want him to think that like I'm not going to learn his name." And then this thing took on. This is your origin story, and it took on a life of its own. Like our bosses, parents.
Oh,
nobody called you Josh.
Not a single person from camp has ever called me Josh, except for, well, there was one of our bosses kept calling me Josh, and then after like 3 years or 4 years, they were like, do you want to be called Josh or do you prefer Strawberry? And I was like, everybody calls me Strawberry here. Yeah. So ever since then, even the bosses called me Strawberry.
It's so weird because in my phone, I'm notorious about it. Like I have to have first name, last name in my phone.
Am I Strawberry?
No, it's just Strawberry. Like you are the only person in my phone that I can have in there as Strawberry, because like I almost don't like when I hear my parents call you Josh, I'm just like, what? Who are you talking about? And this thing, I'm not joking. A couple days went by and people were calling you Strawberry, and I remember being like, oh no. I'm like, because I felt kind of bad because I was like, well, what if he fucking hates this? Like, what if he just wants to be Josh?
Especially because I know that like a lot of the other campers and counselors who had nicknames in the past that were really out there did not like those nicknames because of the way that they started.
It just like it became a brand.
It did.
Like it became.
It was a brand. I have a strawberry tattoo on my thigh.
You do indeed. I can vouch for that. But it became a brand to the point where like even at open houses, you were introduced as the Strawberry.
Yeah.
Like, which was just so funny. It's almost like the Facebook. But that's really good. But
and the only other thing that I will say about that story is that a lot of people hear my name Strawberry and they think like, oh, just the fruit. Strawberry.
Right, because
the fruit.
Being a gay man, and they probably like put it together.
It works, right? No. I was named after an athlete. And I want you to all remember that.
The exact opposite of what you are.
All right. So what was your first camp memory?
So I'll go through my two. I'll try and kind of keep them concise because like I could go on for hours about them. But 2002, I saw the movie Heavyweights for the first time. I'm not joking. I saw Judd Apatow's Heavyweights, which is just a classic. If you haven't seen it, get your shit together and get on Disney Plus and go watch it. But I remember, my mom can attest to this, I watched Heavyweights and my mom came walking downstairs and I was like, Mom, they have a camp for kids like me. And like not just putting it together, that like it's on TV, like who knows if they were real. And I remember we were in the laundry room at one point and I was like, I think I'd like to go to a camp like that, like with kids like that. Right. And so my mom, I mean, God bless her, just got to researching. And I remember it came down to Camp Shane and Camp Kingsmont. And I'll never forget, in February of 2002, we went to West Stockbridge, Massachusetts to go tour the camp. And it was covered in snow. Because, like, I'm 8 years old and my parents are sending away their 8-year-old kid for the first time, potentially. Right. And I remember going to the camp, and I met the owner, who's one of our friends' dads, and I remember walking through the camp with him, quite possibly one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. Like, talked to me like a real person. And I remember we were going through the ins and outs of the cabins, and I remember that day seeing the camp, I was comfortable enough to go. The night before I left, I am crying, like inconsolable, dude. And my sister's like trying to like make me feel better. My mom's trying to make me feel better. My dad is asleep, and and finally, like, I kind of calm down. I go through, but I have that nervous pit in my stomach, and you know me, I have a stomach ache every hour of every goddamn day. But I remember we pulled up, we unpacked. And I'll never forget it. I walk right into cabin 1. I was in Div 4, which was like the youngest boys. And I'll never forget, I met one of my favorite counselors of all time, 2 of them actually, in like the same 10-second span. I met my counselor Luke and my counselor Patrick. And in the first 10 seconds, Luke, who was from England, first like English person I had ever met, like first British person I'd ever met. And I remember him looking at me, and he's like, "We both got red hair. You're gonna be just fine, mate." And
ginger solidarity.
Yeah, and I was like, man, okay, like, cool. And then Patrick, who was just this incredibly like theatric person, who was just so just kind and caring, and was like, "We got your back always." That was exactly what he said. He goes, "We got your back always." I'd never met this person, and I immediately like felt a little bit better. I started playing basketball. My parents kind of unpacked, and we got all settled, and then my parents left. I think my mom cried a little bit on the way home. I'll have to double check with her.
Do you think she cried more than you did?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because I didn't cry while I was at camp, but since I'm such a like vindictive little asshole, I was having the time of my life. I was signed up to go for 3 weeks. I was having the time of my life. After week 1, I wrote a postcard home being like, "This place sucks. Like, I'm having the worst time." Like, I knew I was right. And I remember Luke, my counselor, sees the postcard and he goes, "What the hell is this?" and I was like, "Nothing." And he goes, "You're having a blast here. What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't want to be wrong." and he let me send it.
That's so funny.
And then I would call my parents and tell them that I'm having a good time. My mom's like, "Well, what the hell is this postcard about?" And I think my mom still has it to this day.
Oh, really?
But the cool thing about my first days at Camp Kingsmont is that when you're 8 years old, like, it can be really, really hard, but it just was so seamless. And like, I thought that I was getting into something that I'd be way over my head, even for 8 years old. And it ended up, I left after those 3 weeks. I was home for a week, and I was so miserable that I went back for the rest of the summer. My parents like did that drive like in like a week, a 2 week.
You were one of those.
I had to, because I knew when I came home and I saw like my friends from home, and they were like, "Oh, you look great." And then it kind of just went back to what it used to be.
Right.
And I was just like, man, like, I'm not with my boys. Like, I got to get back.
I think that's one of the appeals of camp, especially like as a kid, but even like as an adult, is that like everything at home is just such a routine. And of course, camp has a lot of routines,
right?
But everything is always like moving. Everything is always changing, and every minute it feels like something's happening.
And that is true. The one thing that I would add to that is that together.
Yeah.
It's together.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not joking. If you've never been to summer camp, it's hard, but I want to be able to illustrate it for you. Imagine just the tightest knit group of people you've ever met in your life that are with you until the end of the line. Like, that's how I describe people from camp, is that they, no matter how many years go by, I'm with them and they're with me until the end of the line, which leads me to in 2009 when I first went over to the camp that we met at, which our other camp had sadly closed down, and a lot of us migrated over to this new camp. And I remember the first day walking into my bunk, these cabins are super nice. The grounds are beautiful. And I remember kind of saying to myself, I'm like, man, like, it's the big leagues almost. Like, it's kind of nuts. And I'll never forget, my friend Casey comes in a little bit afterwards, plops his trunk down, and he looks at me and he goes, "What are we in for?" and then our other friend Ryan comes in, and our close friend Ryan comes in, and he goes, "Get a load of this shit, huh?" and then there were a bunch of returning campers like from that camp who were like, "How do you guys all know each other?" And they
didn't even realize that this whole Kingsmont gang came in.
It kind of started like a little bit of like, we were just kind of like, well, let's stick together. Like, we don't go anywhere without each other. Like, let's stick together until we
prison rules.
Yeah, until we can figure this shit out and kind of get our footing, and then we'll figure it out from there. And then the first day of like exercises came in, because like at old camp it was just like sports every period of the day. There was no like
fitness.
There was no fitness period like we had. And our fitness period is the one time of the day that you go hard, and then the rest of the day is kind of like a little more relaxing, but you're still obviously being active. I remember that first fitness period, we're kind of standing in the back, and I'll never forget, I turned to Casey and I'm just like, dude, how do we get out of here? I'm like, do you have to go to the bathroom? Like, can we split like now? And it was so funny, but we got through it. And that just speaks to the volumes of camp, because over time, the families morphed. Like we became a part of it. Like, of course, I still always will have love for like old camp, but to have this cohesiveness and this brotherhood and sisterhood of people who were just like, yeah, like, you're here now, and this is us.
And it's funny you say that, because you were at the camp that we met at for 1 year before I got there.
Right.
You had 1 year before I was there. Mm-hmm. And when I came in, you were in the cabin with, your friend Casey, our friend Ryan, and a couple of other people who had been at,
we had
at
Brian,
our camp
yeah,
for
we
a
had
few
Brian,
years.
and we had a bunch of other, Chippy as well.
Yeah, but so the people that you like were living with, there was a mix of people you knew from old camp and people who had been at that camp for a few years.
Right.
And I had no idea that like it was like two separate groups that had come together. You guys just always seemed like this whole one big tight knit thing.
Yeah.
And so it really just goes to show that just like with one summer under the belt, the next year I couldn't even tell the difference. Like I couldn't have pulled out who was a Kingsmonter versus who was
right at our previous camp. And then of course, like you always add people into the fold as years go by, because like you come in, and then we had people who came in after that, especially as we became counselors.
Oh yeah,
like people came folding in. And
it's funny, I don't really remember being a camper anywhere near as well as I remember being a counselor.
Well, yeah, because
for
1 year. And I think the big thing is that we both thought, like, what are we getting ourselves into? Both times for me and the one time for you, of like, what are we in for? And it ended up being the thing that molded us and being the biggest part of our lives, which I think is why it was so hard to leave it behind.
Yeah, it kind of got to the point where it was very hard to think about what my life would be without camp.
Right. And that honestly, that's why it took us a little bit longer to leave, is because it meant so much to us. And you know what? I wouldn't trade those years. Like, even though we maybe stayed a couple summers longer than we should have, worth it.
Yeah, I agree.
Because now that we're adults and we're doing our thing, and I think a lot of people who have been to camp can look back and go, even though that like there are ups, there are downs for sure, you would give a lot to jump into the time machine and go back and have one last ride with all your friends.
It's because it's honestly the ultimate dream. It's almost like, just you and a bunch of your friends living together like 24/7.
Right.
And like, yes, you have a job, but like,
and you have to be yourself. You have to be yourself, because it's not like school where you go, you see your friends in between classes, you go to their houses on the weekends, and then you come home. You are living with these people every hour of every day. You got to be you. Mm-hmm. And people end up loving you for you. And that's why our group is so ride or die, is because we know what it's like. We're all in the same boat, and it's a family for life, no matter what camp you came from or what year you came in. It doesn't matter. And so that's a big thing for us. And I think that's something that we'll always hold on to no matter what. And it makes us miss it, especially when we talk about it right now. But, but we're going to go into closing thoughts. And so, hey, another one down. This will be our first one after the batch.
Yeah. So by now, when you're listening to this, we'll know whether or not you guys hate this.
And we really, really hope you don't. But if you do, we're going to keep doing it anyway, baby. But again, folks, please subscribe. Leave us 5 stars if you can, and write a review. We would really, really appreciate it. And honestly, we would love to read some really awesome reviews.
Yeah.
If you've got some good camp stories in there. But also, again,
and send emails.
Absolutely. SFTW submissions@gmail.com. That would be awesome. We really want to hear from you. But hey, until next time, I'm Seth.
And I'm Strawberry.
And this is Sorry for the Wait.